Alright guys, so today I'm working on a 2001 Dodge van. But what I'm going to be doing is changing the wheel bearing, and it's the driver side, but it's the same procedure for the passenger side. And this procedure applies from 2001 to 2006 Dodge van, or Dodge Van Caravan, or Dodge Caravan, however y'all want to call it. So the first thing I do is jack up my tire. And guys, once you jack up your tire, try to find you a safety jack stand and put it on there. But I'm at the shop and I'm doing this quick because the customer is waiting in the car. And for me, this is a 30 minutes job. I'm not trying to do it quick. So I take off the tire. It's held in place by 5 nuts, 19 millimeter nuts. And I'm using power tools as always. I take them off quick, easy, using the Milwaukee strong guy. And I take off my tire and I put it to the side. Next thing, I want to remove the caliper bracket bolts. You could remove the caliper first with the brakes, then remove the caliper bracket. I just pull them together, the caliper and the caliper bracket. And it's held in place by 2 nuts, 2 bolts, 21 millimeter bolts, one in the top, one in the bottom. Alright, and as always, I'm using power tools. So I use flex heads so I can get my gun in there. Guys, now look, I could do this easy without even trying to force my gun in there by just removing my tie rod and spinning that knuckle in whatever direction I wanted to. But I didn't. So I used my gun. And those bolts are really tight, guys. I'm gonna tell you, if you ain't got no power gun, you gonna need you a wrench 21 millimeter or 1316, which is another number for 21, and a hammer, because that hammer is going to be that extra strength, because I promise you cannot take it out by hand with a regular ratchet. Now once my caliper bracket is off, here's the rule: you don't want your brake lines to hang. So I put my caliper bracket in such a way there's not enough strength or tension on those lines. Then I take off my rotor. Right there you can see that's my wheel bearing right there, and there's a clip securing that wheel bearing in place, or the wheel bearing nut. So I pry it with a screwdriver. I pry it first to get in a good angle so I can tap it out of a little bit. And now once I got in a good angle, I'm gonna use wire cutters. So I'm prying it first. So wire cutters will be the next thing I'm gonna get so I can pry it all the way out. There goes my wire cutters. I pry it all the way with my wire cutters. And I don't want to damage it. I mean, if you damage that clip, you're just gonna have to get you another one. It's a security pin. Sorry, my English is not that good, but I'm getting better. All right, so once I get my pin out, I'm gonna have a washer and another thing. But the basic thing is that nut is a 32 millimeter nut, and I'm using a power tool to pull it out. You see, real quick. Man, you're gonna need a power tool to remove it that quick. So once I remove it, I'm supposed to tap it out with a chisel. But no, I don't have my chisel, and I notice how the thread is all the way in the back, so I tap it because I know I can't damage the thread. But if your thread is forward, just be careful. Don't damage that thread, or you're gonna have to get you another axle or be over there all day trying to fire that thread. The next step is to remove the strut bolts, that 21 millimeters or 1316 bolts and nuts. And remember the way those bolts come out, guys. Remember the way they come out, because they have like splines on them, like I'm gonna show you all right there. They have splines, as you all can see if I get closer. So those splines, they lock the strut in position and sometimes lock it with the knuckle. And I've told you 1316 or 21 millimeters. The problem is that the 1316 is going to be plus or minus by a couple inches, not really inches, 0.00 inches. But oh well, let's keep going. I pull out the second one, that two of them with another nut. So I could have done this job easier, like I told you in the beginning. Just remove your tie rod and you will be able to move this around however you want. But this car was so rusty, and I knew if I removed that tie rod, I would have been there for another extra 1.5 hours. And I wasn't trying to do that or make her tell her to buy another outer tie rod and then she thinks I'm just trying to get her money. So the next thing, once I'm done with that, I'm aiming for the ABS sensor. First, is very important. That ABS sensor is responsible for a lot of things in your car, especially your speed, motion, and calculating your speed and your revolutions, things like that. It's a lot. So but it's held in place by a 10 millimeter nut, and you can see I took my time with my ratchet at my 10, and I took it out slowly, because first, that sensor is very expensive, It can range from $40 to $250 depending on the car, and I don't want to damage it, and it's very important. As you can see, my knuckle fell off now. I took out my ABS sensor before priming my knuckle so I don't mess up my sensor. Right there, I'm gonna pop out my axle, and the wheel bearing is held in place by four, I repeat, 415 millimeter bolts. I was looking for the word. Sorry, my English is getting better, like I told you. And as always, I'm using power tools with a flex head so I can work easily and get in whatever angle. But I promise you, if you take out the tie rod, you won't even need a flex head. But oh well. The problem with the flex heads, apprentice, or whoever you are, I'm still an apprentice. The problem is that with such a tool, it bounces around so much, so it's so much power. All I can tell you is that be careful, hold it tight and hold it nice. Don't strip your bolts and be looking salty over there, making your job bigger. Alrighty. So yeah, once I take off those four bolts, for sure the wheel bearing has to fall. But really, since it's been stuck for a minute, you gotta give it a little tap. As y'all can see, once I tap it, it gives me a little opening. Once I see that little opening separating from the knuckle, I take my screwdriver and I put it in that hole. And the law is this: if you want to make a hole bigger, all you gotta do is stick something that's bigger than that hole in there, and it's gonna become as big as whatever you stuck in there. Right there, my wheel bearing is out. And I'm a guy that likes to understand things. I always check it out. But oh well, the next thing I'm gonna do is clean where the wheel bearing has to go with a metal brush, as quick as I and as good as I can. You don't have to be perfect. Just remove those little dust particles around a little bit and everything. Just make it clean so the new part can come and slide in there. So as I told you, I'm a practical guy. Ooh, look at that new wheel bearing. I always try to compare my parts. I try to understand why is it bad. And I noticed the old one is really weak. It spins too easily, as y'all can see. But now the new one is like firm and strong. I can't even spin it. I can. Firm and strong. So, and then I remember this that my teacher used to always tell me, the guy who taught me this. He said, hey, you gotta be a gentleman and patient with this. Always lube it. And I said, lube it? He said, yeah, you can't force your way in there, right? I said, yeah. So I always grease up whatever I'm trying to put in, as y'all can see. I grease it up because I want to lube it and help it slide in there easy. Just be patient, be a gentleman, guys, and don't force your way in there. But well, let's keep going. I grease it up nice and smooth, nice and smooth, nice and smooth. Now I put in position. Now you cannot miss this position. I almost missed it, but all I can tell you is that make sure your whole lines. Once your whole lines, look for your bolts and thread them back in, and as y'all can see, the job is finished. That's what I was replacing, the wheel bearing, and I already got the new one in position. Easy. This is a 30 minutes job which calls for an hour pay. I don't know if you're doing it for the money or you're doing it for yourself or you're doing it for the fun. At the same time, bro, it's easy. I always do this for fun, and I just discovered that recently I could be showing people how to do this for themselves. So I started. So guys, easy like that. Really, the job is finished. All you have to do is reverse the steps. But now, as y'all can see, when you lean back that wheel bearing in position, I want you to cross thread those bolts. I want you to make it in an X manner. You know how to draw an X, right? Up, down, and that's how your bolts should go in. Slowly up, down, and come back around and tighten them. Don't do one side tight. It's not gonna go in uniformly and it might mess up something in there. So take your time and be patient and don't force it. Take your time. That's the key to mechanic. Be patient and take your time. But yeah, and make sure everything you took off, you put it back nice and tight. And I'm gonna say this before I let you guys go, so y'all can watch the rest of the video and see how I put it back, because y'all might not need me no more. It's just a reverse step, Guys, those caliper bolts that y'all took off, please, it is very important. If you took them off by hammer and by wrench, put them back and harden tight them again by hammer and by wrench. Don't be scared, make sure it's just tight. And me too, each time I do it with a power tool, I still check them out with a hammer and a wrench. Please guys, those two bolts are very important. Just remember, It's people's life you're dealing with and their safety. But yeah, thank you guys for watching.